Everyone loves to talk about compounding. It's one of those financial principles that gets repeated so often it almost sounds cliché. Your money works for you. Time is your greatest asset. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. But what almost no one mentions is that very few investors ever actually experience its full power. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Compounding doesn't reward the impatient. It rewards consistency, time, and emotional control, qualities most people lose along the way. The math of compounding is easy to understand. The psychology behind it is what makes it so hard to achieve. Let's look at what most investors never reach. When you first start investing, the progress is slow. You deposit money, maybe every month or every year, but the balance barely moves. You see small gains, but they don't feel meaningful. It's easy to lose motivation when the numbers on the screen don't seem to reflect your effort. This early phase can last years, and that's why most people give up. They look at their account and think, "This isn't working." But that slow start isn't failure, and it's the foundation. In the beginning, almost all of your investment growth comes from what you contribute. The market adds small gains, but your deposits do the heavy lifting. Over time, as your total balance grows, those small gains start producing bigger numbers. That's when compounding starts to take effect, when your returns begin earning their own returns. But most people never reach that stage because they interrupt the process too early. They switch investments, cash out, or stop contributing. And every time they do, they reset the clock. Here's a simple example. Imagine you invest $10,000 a year at an average return of 7%. After 10 years, your balance would be around $138,000. That's good progress. But the majority of that, I think about $100,000, is money. You contributed yourself. Only $38,000 comes from investment growth. It doesn't feel like a huge reward for 10 years of effort. But if you keep going, the picture changes completely. After 20 years, your balance grows to roughly $425,000. Now, more than half of that total, about $225,000, comes from returns, not from what you put in. That's the start of real compounding. Stay invested for 30 years, and the number jumps to about $1 million. At that point, more than $700,000 of your total comes from compounding alone. You contributed $300,000, but your patience earned the rest. The longer you stay invested, the faster that growth accelerates. That's the compounding milestone most investors never reach. The point where your portfolio starts growing faster than your own effort. Once you reach that point, your money does most of the work, but getting there takes consistency and time. Most people don't last that long. One of the biggest reasons investors fall short is impatience. Markets move in cycles, and during downturns, even disciplined investors get nervous. When stocks fall, it's natural to want to pull money out to protect what you have, but that decision often backfires. Selling during a downturn locks in losses and breaks the compounding process. If you miss just a few of the market's best recovery days, your long-term returns can drop dramatically. Compounding only works if you let your investments recover and keep growing. The data is clear on this. According to JP Morgan's long-term market study, an investor who stayed in the S&P 500 from 2003 to 2023 would have earned an annual return of about 9.7%. But if they missed just the 10 best trading days in those 20 years, their return would fall to around 5.5%. Missing 20 of those best days drops it even further to 2.9%. The lesson is simple. Trying to time the market destroys compounding. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time. Another challenge is distraction. Many investors start with a simple plan, but over time they get pulled in different directions. They chase new trends, move money to whatever is popular, or constantly switch strategies. Each time they do that, they restart their compounding timeline. Wealth doesn't build through constant movement. It builds through consistency. Even average investments can create strong results if you give them enough time. The most successful investors in history understand this. They don't build wealth by jumping between opportunities. They build it by staying invested for decades. Warren Buffett is a good example. He started investing as a teenager, but more than 90% of his wealth came after he turned 50. It wasn't because he suddenly got smarter. It was because compounding had finally reached its acceleration point. The same logic applies to anyone who invests consistently over time. The early years feel slow, but later growth becomes faster than you can imagine. If you stay invested long enough, compounding is simple math, but it tests human behavior. It requires you to believe in a process that doesn't reward you immediately. It requires patience when the results aren't visible, and it demands emotional control during volatility. Those three things, patience, consistency, and control, matter more than picking the perfect investment. Even for regular investors with modest incomes, compounding can create real wealth. Someone who invests $500 a month from age 25 to 60, just 35 years, could end up with more than $1.1 million at a 7% return. If they wait just 10 years to start, that final number drops by nearly half. The key difference isn't the amount they invest each month. It's how long their money had time to compound. Every extra year you give your investments adds weight to your returns. Every year you delay takes that weight away. Compounding also depends on what you do with your returns. Many people sell too early when they see small gains. They feel good locking in profit, but lose the much bigger gains that would have come later. Taking profits frequently stops growth from accelerating. The investors who reach the compounding milestone understand that the best returns often come in the later years, not the early ones. Leaving your gains invested allows them to keep earning more. The milestone most investors never reach isn't about a dollar amount. It's about time. The point when your returns start outpacing your effort. Once you reach that stage, your portfolio begins to grow, whether or not you keep adding to it. That's when compounding becomes truly powerful. But it's only available to those who wait. The emotional side of investing is what stops most people from waiting long enough. Seeing markets drop can make you feel like your progress has disappeared. Watching others make fast money elsewhere can make you question your strategy. But that's how compounding works. It rewards those who stay focused and penalizes those who react emotionally. The investors who succeed are rarely the ones who know the most. They're the ones who do the least when things get uncertain. Patience might sound boring, but it's the most valuable skill an investor can have. The market always rewards consistency over time. Someone who invests a small amount regularly for 30 years will almost always outperform someone who invests a large amount inconsistently. Time multiplies discipline more than it multiplies capital. Even outside of markets, the same rule applies. Whether it's building a business, developing skills, or saving for retirement, the results start slow then grow faster once the base is established. Most people quit during the slow phase because they don't see progress. But the slow phase is necessary. It's what builds the foundation that makes growth possible. Later, in investing, that foundation is your early contributions. Every dollar you invest now works for you for years. The earlier you start, the more time those dollars have to multiply. That's why compounding favors early action and long-term consistency over short-term perfection. You don't need to find the perfect time to invest. You just need to give your investments enough time to work. For many people, reaching the compounding milestone takes 15 to 20 years of steady investing. It's not exciting, but it's reliable. The hardest part is staying consistent during those years when it feels like progress is small. But every contribution adds momentum. Every market recovery adds speed. Eventually, your returns begin to outpace your savings. And that's when real wealth building begins. The takeaway is simple. Compounding doesn't fail investors. Investors fail compounding. The math always works, but only if you give it time. The earlier you start, and the longer you stay invested, the stronger the effect becomes. It doesn't matter if you invest in stocks, index funds, or real estate. The principle is the same. The key is consistency, not prediction. So, if you're investing right now, and it feels like your growth is slow, stay the course. That's how it's supposed to feel in the beginning. The early years are the foundation. The later years are the reward. Every month you stay invested brings you closer to the milestone that most people never reach. Because compounding doesn't reward those who start the fastest. It rewards those who stay the longest. The real power of compounding isn't in the numbers. It's in the patience to wait for them to.